So this class here, we have time in this, my students, this class is, what class is this?
Counseling.
Advanced counseling.
CBC 235, drug and alcohol counseling, right? Not the advanced class. The advanced class is next semester. The pre-advanced class, but like Stephanie says, we're already advanced students. You are, and I would agree with that statement. So, but because we're doing counseling, and prior to turning on the film, we talked about some great stuff. And actually, I'm going to tie that in together. Okay, well, because what we were talking about. Let me get my magic chalk. But what we're talking about, and what we were talking about in the counseling session, is two things. In counseling, is two things: content and process. And for process, we can also call that feelings. So there's two things that go on in the counseling session. And this could be group or individual. So you have to be cognizant. You have to be cognizant of these two things, whether it's group or individual, because you're going to have to be you're the observer. Okay, you're the, like we said with the notation, using the DAP and SOAP techniques. You are observing nonverbal cues, all information. You're getting a lot of information from our patients, but you're also sending information as well. So you have to know the signals, what to look for, and how to send the information. Like I showed you before, the open hands, how we dress, and that genuineness, to be present in the therapeutic alliance, to build a rapport, motivational interview, all the things that we discussed in the counseling class. So, who's got their book with them today?
Which one?
Everybody's got it. Okay, they're holding it up. This is the tab 21, Addiction Counselor Competencies. We're going to go to page 115, competency number 92, and page 115, competency 92, and this is the Getting Ready to Test book for the IC and RC exam. If we go to page 250, under C, the letter C. Who's got their book? Okay, so let's look at the tab 21. This is what it is. And let's see if we can just explain a little bit more about it, and then we'll kind of define what it is. Okay. So competency 92. Who would like to read that for us? With authority. Who's going to volunteer to read that? Okay, Janice.
Understand the concepts of process and content, and shift the focus of the group when such a shift will help the group more towards its goals.
Okay, so understand the concept of process and content, and be able to shift. That's what the facilitator does in group. Remember, you're keeping it moving. So you got to know the difference between that. You got to be able to observe and recognize what's going on, and when you can shift the group to follow this thread of where it can go, just by shifting the focus of the group, that will help the group move forwards towards its goals. Okay, so pull out who's got the dictionary today?
I do.
Okay, so when it comes to process, what did we say recovery is? What is recovery?
Recovery is the process of change through which the individual
Proves down the wrongs.
What?
Okay, look. Start with the first sentence. Recovery is a process of change.
Through the individual reaches.
Okay, so look, Angela, you got the first part, which is the most important part. Recovery is a process of change. through which the individual will improve
Their
health and wellness,
Live a self-directed life.
live a self-directed life, and
strive
to reach their full potential. Okay, so that's what recovery is, right? Recovery is a process of change which an individual will reach health and wellness, strive to live a self-directed life,
Reach that full
and
potential.
reach their full potential. So, in order to strive to reach a self-directed life, are addicts living a self-directed life, or is their life being controlled and directed by their addiction? Okay? Yes, is the answer to that question. Okay? So, we want to teach them and help them go through this process of change where they're actually living a self-directed life. But do they know what direction they want to go in? For the most part, no. Although they do, if we look back and peel the onion, they did at one time have dreams and goals and things they wanted to do. And I've made lists, I told you, I made lists of patients in the group. We've come up with 60, 70, 80 things. From being a ballet dancer, owning a house, getting a credit card, playing golf, skydiving, skiing, all kinds of things that they've always wanted to do that they have been robbed of because of their addiction. So, when it comes to process or a process of change, who's got the dictionary today? Okay, process, do you got it? You got it, Danielle?
Yeah.
Okay, loud,
Would
let's
you
hear it.
prefer definition 1 or 2?
I want
Do
to
you like
hear
odd or even numbers
Which
better?
one applies?
Yeah, which one apply? I want to hear all that apply.
Both. Okay, I'll do 2. I like even numbers.
Okay.
A continuous action, operation, or series of changes taking place in a definite manner.
Okay, so changes, a process of change that are
Continuous.
continuous that are taking place in a definite manner. So there's there's a treatment plan, right? We have treatment goals and objectives for our patients. We have the forms filled out. We got the psychosocial information. So and motivational interviewing is directive. So we are directing them to connect these dots to go through this process of change towards this self-directed life. And we're going to help them identify some of the goals, dreams, visions they've had in the past, or they may not even know that they have, or somebody else saying, well, I'd like to do that too. But definitely, those dreams have been robbed from them because addiction has stolen it from them. So they may not make that connection right away, but that's what's happening with our patients. So we're going to help them. Anybody else got any other information on that? Because I know you wouldn't be texting somebody. No? You got some more information,
It
right?
comes from the word Latin procedere, and it means a course.
A course, okay, a course.
To an end.
Like a treatment plan.
Exactly.
Like a treatment recovery plan. A course towards a directed end? Okay, so, and like remember I told you, always have a dictionary in group when you're running group, because you see how we look up the words, like when we look up the words in a group, kind of gives us a clearer understanding. I mean, like we all speak English, but who would, I mean, we know more about the word process and a process of change than, and you're going to be doing that in group. What we're doing here, you can do that in group. What about content? What does that mean? Webster. Definition was. Table of content, does that say something?
In a state of peaceful.
Hold on.
Oh, no,
You can
state
say
of
it.
content.
Yeah.
Okay.
Content.
I spelled it right. Let's do like a member of the British House of Lords who vote for a particular motion.
That's not
Patricia. Come on, what is it? Who's got it?
In a state of peaceful happiness.
That's all. Yeah, that's all.
So
Oh,
that's
content. That's content. I'm down for that.
Noun, not the verb, not
Wait,
whatever, one of those.
Oh,
A noun.
Give you the
Yeah.
adjective.
Not the
The
adjective.
adjective.
Adjective,
Yeah, never said adjective.
That was the adjective.
No, okay, so what do we want? The
The
adverb?
noun.
Noun.
The
The
noun.
noun is a state of
Alex?
satisfaction.
Alexandra, you got it? You raised your
Something
hand.
can change.
Is something that is to be expressed through some medium as speech or writing?
Say it again?
Something that is to be expressed through some medium as speech or writing?
So something that is to be expressed,
Through some
some
medium?
speech.
speech.
Okay, well, let's just look at the speech part of that. Although it could be writing, because we're asking our patients to make lists, right? So something that can be expressed through speech, that means we'll say it. It's something that we say. Okay, go ahead.
The things that are held or included in something. The amount of a particular constituent occurring in a substance, a list of titles.
Now, I don't
think
know,
that's the
I'm
first one,
lost now with that.
Yeah, the things that are held or included in something.
The things that are held or are included. Okay, but I like the other one with what we say. It's really what we say. Alexandra, were you going to say that?
The system of meanings or semantic values specific to a language.
Okay, semantic means the diction that we use to speak language, the difference between English and Spanish.
Terminology.
Yeah. All right, so I think we've got it. Okay, so content is what a patient or anyone will say, and process or feelings are something that a patient or an individual you feels. Now, you heard me use that word congruent, okay? Is what people say and what people feel always congruent? And I can see, because you guys can't see it on the film, everybody, all my students are shaking their heads like this, right? Because so as counselors, you got to be able to differentiate between what someone is saying and what someone is feeling. And someone could be feeling something and you can pick up on that, and they may not be saying anything. They may not be saying anything, but you can look at them and you can know that something's going on with them. Remember, we're looking for smoke. There could be smoke going on over here, and they may not be saying anything. Or, like what Alicia said, what about the patient who's not saying anything? Who's not saying anything and doesn't want to say anything? I'm okay, I won't say anything today, I'm good. Is that patient good? No. Okay, so that you have to be aware. If you're not aware of that, I can't see that happening, but a counselor may, okay, let's move on and move on to somebody else and not acknowledge the fact that that person is got a wall up and being defended, and there's something going on behind that wall. And you have to be able to help them come on to the side of the wall where everybody else is and be able to talk about what's really going on with them. But you also have to know that there's something wrong first. Okay, so that's the difference between content and process. And in group and in individual counseling, those are two things that are going on all the time. In the group and in individual are going on all the time. That's why when I'm in group, and people are going around doing stuff, I'm constantly, and you will too, constantly be scanning the group. Very carefully, I don't always make it look obvious. They're not always looking at you as the counselor. They may be looking at, Mike is talking, so, everybody's looking over there. But I'm constantly looking and scanning the group for feelings, body language, other nonverbal cues, how they're paying attention or not paying attention. Or everything. I'm watching everything that's going on all the time. And you're going to do that too. But you have to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, you're just looking around. Oh, that's a nice set of sneakers today. Where'd you get those? You get those at the... Okay, so let's see what the competency is. Okay? So, in this, the way this is broken down, it's broken down knowledge, skills, and attitude. So let me look at the knowledge part, okay? You have to know. You need knowledge of the concepts, these concepts of which we've just defined, okay? The difference between the group process and the content of the discussion. So there's a group process as a group, and the content of the discussion. Now, the content of the discussion is what the people are speaking, like we said in that definition. But the group process of how the group is moving and developing as a group is different. And you may be the only one who's watching and being aware of that. Like I said, the group will go on other shifts and other levels and other planes, and we'll get where we want to go to this working stage where the group is actually almost running itself. It's at another whole other level of consciousness, you know, and you're kind of there with them, but you want to be aware of that because they may not always be aware of that themselves. Okay, methods and techniques of group problem solving, decision making, and addressing group conflict. So we've talked about this before in this class. There are techniques that you have in group that you don't have to solve everybody's problem. You don't do that. You don't have to fix everything. You don't do that. You are just a facilitator, right? Joe can have a problem. You know Mike has had the same problem, but Mike, let them work that out as a group. Like, gee, I don't know. Mike says, what do I do? I said, gee, Mike, I don't know. Anybody think, has anybody else been through this? Tom? You know, like that. Next thing you know, the older guy's helping the younger, and the group as a process is processing information and resolving any issue or something, a personal issue that someone's having. The group resolves that. You're just a facilitator, but you have to watch and be cognizant that the group is resolving something as a group. Okay, I mean, Angela. I don't know my glasses. Unless it was the red lipstick. Okay, Angela.
If a person starts their recovering process, let's say 6 years ago, but then in the middle they had a relapse,
Yes.
would they count, or should they count, or shouldn't they count the new process from the time they relapse again, like from 0, or they actually have 6 years of recovery with one time relapse? Like how does it?
No, okay. So in programs, a relapse and then you're going to start over again and get 1 day clean, 2 days clean, 3, like that, right? But this is my position on this, only my position on this, right? The individual does not forget that prior 6 years. He or she has a lot of information in there in that period of time that they can use and have much more information than somebody first time has 2, 3, 4 days. So, from a perspective of a counselor, you want to point that out to them, that they've got all this information that you don't forget. So like we did in that sample here, they know what they have to do, and you just have to help them point that out to them because they're probably beating themselves up, guilt, shame, remorse, all those feelings come back.
Back to 0.
Yeah, but they're not back at 0. They have the information, what worked for them, and you want to point out to them that you're going to help them do that again because they know what worked. Okay, what worked? Let's start there. Well, I was going to meetings. Well, I was going to. That's the direction we're going to go. So when I say that all our patients are individuals and have individual treatment and recovery, processes, that patient is going to have a completely different process than the 19-year-old that's coming in and knows nothing about anything, about recovery or anything. That patient is as an individual is going to need to be treated differently. Am I correct in that? Yeah, so you would see why, because a lot of the work, they have a lot of the information, a lot of what they know. So you're going to be able to use that as part of your asset to help them get back on track.
Prevention plan that you do with them, right?
Right, I'd be like, well, what did they make a mistake? What did they do? And I'll tell you what they're going to say. Stop going to meetings. That's what they're going to say.
Well, that's
So
what
they
they
have the answers,
Yeah.
but they just didn't.
Yeah,
apply.
they have the answer, but they just didn't apply. But usually that's what I hear, that they thought I got it. I got some plan, I got this, I got this, I stopped going to meetings, I stopped calling my sponsor. There was things that they stopped doing. If you do like a post-mortem of the relapse, and look at what they were doing, because actually using the drugs was the last in a cycle of things that they did or did not do, and then using the drugs was the end result. But they were already in their mind. We have to do like a post-mortem of what did they do or did not do prior to that, and point out and list it and figure it, and have them, help them understand it, list it and show it and document it, and don't do that again. Okay?
Someone said that the drugs were just the manifestation of
Yes.
something prior.
Yes, we talked about it in the other class over there, we said that, right? That's what it is. So you want to look back at what did they do, what were they doing, what did they not do, and just to say they stopped going to meetings 3 weeks before, that's, the relapse is 3 weeks later, but it was the 3 weeks before when they stopped going to meetings, and then thought that they got it, and then they just wanted to see what their friends were doing, just wanted to stop by, see how.
Yeah, the relapse always way before the
Yes.
actual pickup.
Yes, before they, like I said, the pickup, the use, is the end of this cycle. So, and we need to help them identify that, list that, describe that to us as part of the counseling process. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
That's a good, very good question. Okay, so then, this is under knowledge, what you know, okay? How to process variable effects the group's that affects the group's ability to focus on the content concerns. How process variables affect the group's ability to focus on content concerns. Okay, let's just have a closer look at that. How process variables, variable is different things that are going on that affect the process. There's different things going on. This one has one opinion, this one has another, there's things going on. And how that affects the group's ability to focus on content concerns. So you want to help the group stay focused and talk about what the issue is or the process is. You want to help them focus about, if they drift and talk about, did you see the game last night? How about those Jets? You know, what about the go Yankees? You know, whatever. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear stuff like that. It's not a chat session. It's not. Group is not, I've said this to them, right? This is not a coffee clutch, okay? It's not a coffee clutch, a chat session, or like I said the other day, it's not a complaints department. I'm not going to come here and complain about your PO, you know, because the reason you're on probation is because of these other things that happen. So it's not a complaints department. So you want to help be able to direct them to stay on, focus on what the process is, this group process that they're in. And this is knowledge, under knowledge still. How content variables affect the group's ability to focus on process concerns. Okay, so you want to focus on, say what they're saying, what they're feeling, what's going on with them at an emotional level can be different as a group, definitely as an individual, in individual sessions, but as a group can be different, what's going on, what's being said and what's going on as the group process is going to this other level. Hopefully to get to this working stage. But we're going to talk about the stages of change in a group in the advanced class. Okay, so what skills do you need? Okay, here under the competency report, it's got skills. What kind of skills do you need? Who's got the book with him today? Well, everybody's got their book today. That's great. Great. What a great bunch of students. So, who would like to read skills? Who would like to read the first one? Go ahead, Earl.
Observing and documenting process and content.
Okay, so what is documentation? Okay, so you know how from the documentation class, documenting the patient's progress towards their treatment plan, goals, and objectives. So you want to be able to observe and document the individual and group, an individual's process and content. So if the patient shares something in group that has to do with their treatment recovery plan, I'll give you a quick, this is easy to document. Okay, so we're doing a feelings check. We're starting the group out. Who'd like to start? Tom? He says, yeah, I got 41 days clean today. Right? Now, that's content that they said, right? And they're under their treatment plan goals and objectives, maintaining abstinence and being part of the recovery process. So he's just shared he has 41 days clean. Now, would that go into progress note? Sure. Yeah. And, well, gee, Tom, how do you feel about that? I feel great. That feels great. Have you ever had 41 days? Never had 41 days clean before. This is the first time I've had 41 days clean. I said, how do you feel about that? It feels great. It feels great. I can't wait till I get 60 days because I got a 30-day key tag at my meeting, and I'm going to get me one of them there 60-day key tags. By golly. Right? Okay?
Straight out of
Well, I don't want to use the language, you know. But what's the process? What's he feeling there?
Feeling exuberant.
Yes, feeling exuberant. Happy. Okay. Do you put that into progress note?
Sure.
Absolutely.
He's feeling content.
Content. He feels good about it. It's the first time he's ever had 41 days clean.
Breakthrough.
He's made a breakthrough. Congratulations, Tom, you've made it. And again, Angela, he may not have seen it that way. He may not have recognized it that way. And then you say to the group, gee, well, how does everybody else feel about that? And let them say, hey, congratulations. So that process, that feelings, that exuberance translates to the whole group. And it's your job to make sure that that happens.
Make sure they all feel it.
They all share in that feeling, that exuberant, happy feeling. Share in Tom's happiness and joy that he's got 41 days or 45 days or something like that. So the group, so who wants to, what do you say, Tom? I know I've seen you guys hanging out in the parking lot, Joe. What do you got to say to Tom? You know, and then you work with that, what you got, and that will elevate the whole group consciousness to a feeling of shared joy for Tom getting 41 days clean. Okay? See how that works? That's an important skill. That's under skills. Okay? That's an important skill to have. And you have to be aware of what's going on, the difference between content and process, cognizant and constantly aware of what's going on as a group. So under skills, assessing when to make appropriate process interventions. Okay, so again, if you are plugged in and aware, you're going to assess when to make the appropriate intervention, to jump in and say, like I just said, gee Tom, how do you feel about, gee Mike, how do you feel about Tom's excitement and happiness about it? So you're gonna take advantage of that, exploit that. You heard me use that word before. It sounds kind of strong, but you're going to exploit that good feeling. You know, why not? We don't want to go, okay, great, he's got 41 days, great. Okay, next. Joe, next? No, next. And this one says, and then all of a sudden they're taking a negative nosedive, you know, when we didn't take it, you know, so you got to be aware of that, okay? And then using strategy, using strategies congruent with enhancing both process and content to meet individual and group goals. Okay, so using strategies congruent to enhancing. So I use the word exploiting, but you want to enhance the group's good feeling, or if there's a bad feeling, you definitely want to address that. Don't move on from a bad feeling to shove it under the rug. You want to address these things. You got to be aware that this is happening in real time and be able to discuss it and resolve it with the group.
What if a person says like they want to harm someone, like at the beginning, like in the feelings check, like I feel like I want to really hurt someone physically? Would you?
Yes, if we're going through the feelings check in the beginning and someone said something like that.
Like you know that it's serious.
Like I said, we're looking for smoke in the feelings check, okay? So someone like that would be smoking over here, you know? So yes, I would address that as, you know, not right away. That I would, you know, get everybody in the feelings check, and then I would get back to and help the group and help that person resolve that as part of the group process. That would be something I definitely would not let go by without addressing in group. And that would definitely be addressed in the group. And I would have that resolved, you know, we were saying, would I speak with them privately, you know, but that would be something I wouldn't let somebody leave the group with that feeling, okay? We would process that feeling as a group. The content is what you said, but the process is what's really feeling, what are they really feeling? And I would address that in the group process, because she ain't gonna do no harm always to everyone. In fact, I would always position myself closest to the door, stop people from leaving. Okay, in the attitudes, appreciation of the appropriate use of content and process intervention. So that's your attitude. You have the good feeling about what you're doing. Have a good feeling, like I said, and we talked about this in the other class. I want to be there. You want to be there in group with them. I want to be there. I let them know, look, I want to be here, whether you want to be here or not. You know, if I want to be here. I want to work this through with you. Let's do this together in the group. And the group, my process is that I want to be there. I'm feeling good about being in group with you guys. And let's deal with this as a group. And let's, work on this together. But my attitude is, I'm aware of these things, you're aware of these things, you're the trained professionals, you're the, the responsible clinical staff member, you're the group facilitator, so you're there too. And you gotta be aware of these things so you can enhance them for the group's goals and get the group to this other working stage where it kind of almost runs itself. And that's what the real magic of being in group therapy is. Okay, Jessamine.
All right, Angela's question kind of got some gears turning, and in regards to when a client says that they want to, or might hurt someone, or hurt themselves, and things like that, what if you have a female patient who's pregnant, who's still using? Is there anything that you can do? Obviously,
Yeah.
help her through, what you do, but is there anything more that you can do?
No, there's not, because and I know what you're asking, because there's some question that could be considered child abuse, right? But the fetus, they're saying until it becomes a child, legally
Yeah,
that's
that's
not
what I'm
considered
asking.
child abuse. But yes, that's something you would have to address. And if someone was an outpatient and continuing to use and was pregnant, you may need to refer them to one of the programs that specializes in treatment for pregnant women. And it's inpatient or residential, safe residential setting where we're doing a lot of toxicology reporting. But can't be used because, the other, syndromes, fetal alcohol syndrome, these other things that kind of exist, happen early in the first trimester, but still, you don't want there to be, kids, mother using drugs. There was some issue, I think, when they're born, they do drug test children when they're born, and if there's drugs in the system, of the baby, then they could do something. But in the meantime, you would want to address that. If someone is pregnant and continuing to use, you would want to address that from a clinical perspective, And if you need to refer them to one of the pregnant women's programs, safe residential programs for women where they're monitored a little closer, then you would fill out the discharge referral. Okay, so we're out of time. So that's where we were. That's what we talked about. And this really is an advanced class. I can't tell you how proud I am, how great it is to be your professor. Okay, just move to the next.